Why are automakers halting their operations? You can bet that if nothing changes, new stoppages, and from new brands, will occur. In the always tumultuous Brazilian automotive sector, the news of the week is that many automakers have stopped their manufacturing operations. We have everything: Stellantis, Hyundai, GM, Mercedes-Benz, and so on. The big question we all ask is, why are they stopping their operations and opening the infamous VDPs, voluntary dismissal plans? Vehicle sales in the first 2 months of this year grew by more than 5%, and we should close the first quarter with a growth of about 10%. So, what's the real issue here? Well, dear readers, let's bring some facts to better understand this situation. Fake growth. One of the main points is that the growth in sales in this first quarter is, let's say, fake. The first quarter of last year was horrible. So, going from 1 to 2, generating a 100% growth, is just for show. The point here is that there is no short-term scenario for economic activity improvement. All companies, at least the more serious ones, are betting that the market this year will have a 0-0 result at best, with a downward trend in sales according to most projections. Credit disappeared and so did the consumer. If economic activity is not helping, banks are making things even worse. In recent years, credit for vehicle financing has disappeared, with no forecast for its return. Additionally, the current consumer financing interest rate has returned to the 2016 level. So, we have a perfect storm. In the last 6-7 years, the average Brazilian has lost about 30% of their income. The per capita GDP in 2017 was $9,600, compared to $7,200 in 2022. The granting of credit has dwindled. The current interest rates are the same as in 2016 and, to top it off, the price of a basic car has almost doubled. In other words, it can't work. Main reason: financial cost. But the main reason for this stoppage is the financial cost that the automakers are bearing. How come? Simple. Since mid-2020 until the end of last year, automakers have been operating with minimal stock. Therefore, the financial cost of maintaining this car in stock, whether at the factory yard or dealerships, was practically negligible. In December 2020, for example, there were cars in stock for just 12 days of sales. Of course, during that period, there was the issue of the lack of parts and electronic components, as well as a higher demand for vehicles. This was the perfect world for the CFOs of the automakers. But then the market turned. By the end of February 2023, the car stock was for more than 40 days of sales. This means that when the month ended, the automaker's president looked at his yard and thought, "Wow, if I don't produce any more cars this month, I have enough product to meet the entire demand for March, plus 10 days of April." Not to mention that the CFOs were probably having palpitations seeing the stock increase. In February, there were roughly 190,000 cars in stock. If we consider an average value of 100,000 Brazilian reals per vehicle, there were 19 billion Brazilian reals in vehicles in the yards of automakers and dealerships. Let's imagine a financial cost of 1.5% per month. It's more to run this stock? Therefore, the financial cost for maintaining these vehicle stocks was 285 million Brazilian reals per month. The banks thank you. In other words, it couldn't continue as it was. When the stock hit the 40-day mark and increasing, alarms went off throughout the chain. If vehicle demand is in lethargic mode, production must urgently stop. And you can bet that if nothing changes, new stoppages, and from new brands, will occur. The highlight among brands in 2023 was the rise of BYD and GWM, a movement never seen in the Brazilian market. The big highlight of the automotive sector this year was the sale of pickup trucks. They will end 2023 as the type of product that had the highest sales growth. In this scenario, Ram was one of the brands that benefited the most from this demand, expected to close the year with a 250% increase in sales compared to last year. But, with due respect to Ram, despite its excellent performance, the highlight among brands this year goes to the rise of the Chinese brands, BYD and GWM. And, already anticipating 2024, it's safe to say that they will also be the big highlight next year. The rise of these two Chinese brands was something never seen in the Brazilian market, considering the average ticket of the products sold. BYD, in particular, currently, 12/21, holds the 16th position among the best-selling brands in the Brazilian market. But the probability of it closing the year in the 15th position, surpassing Ram in the last days of 2023, is immense. BYD should close 2023 with a market share of around 0.78%, while GWM should be close to 0.49%. If we include Kawachery's 1.45% share, we can declare that the Chinese brands will end this year with a 2.72% share. But this is not the market's reality, nor that of these brands. Notice in the graph above that the two brands only started to work effectively in the market at the end of the first half of the year. If we take the result from this month until 12/20, BYD has already reached a share of 2.13%, surpassing traditional brands like Peugeot, Citroën, Kawachery, Ford, and Mitsubishi, entering the top 10 for good. This month, the three Chinese brands are not at a 2.72% share for the year accumulated. In December, the three will close the year with a 5% share. And this is the new reality. But then you might point a finger at me, reminding me that, in the recent past, I talked about the collapse of the electrified car market, the central focus of BYD and GWM products. In the view of this humble intern, nothing has changed. The process of popularizing electrified cars, which was expected to move faster, will take a few more years. As the old saying goes, to friends, everything. To enemies, the law. After all, the federal government decided to bring back the 35% import tax on electrified vehicles to try to help the automakers already established in Brazil, safeguard the chain's jobs, and blah, blah, blah. What the federal government didn't realize is that competition, in any market, is excellent. The central point here is that the Chinese have changed the dynamics of the electrified car. They came in strong, bringing top-notch products with high price attractiveness. The entry-level cars of BYD and GWM are in the 150,000 Brazilian reais range. And BYD also promised to bring a small electric car in the 100,000 Brazilian reais to 130,000 Brazilian reais range. Is it expensive? Yes. But remember that the most sold small hatch in the country is the GM Onix, priced between 82,000 Brazilian reais and 112,000 Brazilian reais. In other words, it will enter to compete with part of the top Onix. And yes, I agree with you. Paying 112,000 Brazilian reais for a top Onix is absurd. Moreover, the Chinese forced their competitors to lower prices. One last example came from Peugeot. Its electric 2008, which cost 199,990 Brazilian reais at the beginning of the month, had its price dropped to 159,990 Brazilian reais. Look at that. Competition made an automaker drop the price of its product by 40,000 Brazilian reais? Want more? This car, when launched, had a selling price of 259,990 Brazilian reais. In other words, in less than a year, the car received a discount of 100,000 Brazilian reais. But what is the future of BYD and GMW? The first point we notice is that there is a process of strong expansion in the dealership network, sales points. The more I increase my reach, the better it will be for me. The second point is that BYD and GMW have enough resources to support an operation for 2 to 4 years until the start of their manufacturing operations, unlike other Chinese brands, like Jack and Effa, for example, that came for fun. When it comes to electrified cars, all the cutting-edge technology is Chinese. By the time the automakers already established here try something similar, the damage will already be done. I'll end with a moment of prophecy. When BYD and GMW are operating with their factories on Brazilian soil, they should capture about 10% to 12% of the market. That was today's video, entrepreneurs. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Like, comment, share, and a big hug.